I was like, I was there last.
Our final presentation for the day is Hudson Kimm. Hudson lives in Swisher and attends Prairie High School. His project is called Empowering Youth Athletes, the Mental Side of Sports.
Hello everyone, my name is Hudson Kimm, and my project is empowering youth athletes through mental health. This right here is the trophy for my 8U World Series, which we won, and it was this season that our parents informed us that we were the #1 ranked team in the nation, according to USSSA, with a record of 50-2, playing some of the best teams across the Midwest. And while I felt on top of the world after winning this trophy, and some of us felt like we had won the actual World Series, but after I won this, I ended up feeling like I had to be perfect all the time, and I was really frightened to make mistakes. I'd like to start my presentation with a short story from the season after I won this massive trophy. Gazing out across the diamond, I sit frozen in the dugout amidst what feels like the biggest game of my life, the 9U Major State Championship. My team, down 1 run, heads into the bottom of the last inning, and I'm up in 4 batters. Though I could potentially have the chance to win the game for my team, I secretly cross my fingers, hoping that whether we win or lose, I won't have to bat. Anxiety and pressure command me, and what should be one of the greatest moments of my life is dreadful. 3 up, 3 down. We lose, but it's relief that washes over me. Now, I've been involved with numerous highly competitive sports from a very young age, but with these sports, there's always been this pressure to perform and win, and this made me incredibly anxious to make mistakes or lose. And I have all these trophies and accomplishments, but they didn't help at all. If anything, they made it worse as the pressure to succeed only increased. Now, one cause for this was some of the overinvested parents and coaches that made losing or making mistakes feel unacceptable, not to mention that these adults, our role models, they never even talked about mental health. I would now like to share a short clip from a video called Not Good Enough by the Kansas City Royals to show that this problem goes far beyond me and extends to thousands of kids across our country.
The tighter the grip, the more resistance you get.
Tony, you know, you don't really realize it in the moment. You have only good intentions. But in the long run, you're actually hurting your kids.
Can you open the door, please? I was a dinosaur of a dad. I was hands-on. I was a dad who's standing right behind the cage. I was that overbearing voice in his head while he's just trying to track a ball and catch it and throw it back to the pitcher. He had his old man over his shoulder, you know, fine-tuning every aspect of the way he was playing the position. So I was probably the primary reason my son burnt out in baseball. That was not the goal. I wanted him to think I was there for him.
You are a complete idiot. That's an adult major league season.
You're ranking individual kids and individual players at that point in time. That's a lot of pressure.
They don't get how much pressure we have. You have to get that grab. Oh, that's like so easy for you. So that's what happened a lot.
The more successful your kid is, the more likely the parents are to get sucked into their kid's excellence.
The gasoline on that fire is social media.
It's not a cheap sport.
I spend all this money. Now what do I get out of all of this?
You gotta get a scholarship. You gotta get recruited. Scouts are coming to this game.
Putting kids into a fight or flight mode is, I think, a real danger. He started having panic attacks. The suicide's a really difficult thing to talk about.
It kind of felt like I was being coached by Gordon Ramsay sometimes.
There are some coaches that will stand on the sideline and say, what are you thinking? You know, this is not college sports. I don't know if it's the coaches. I think that it's mostly the parents.
When the parents actually put out a fire one,
They're supposed to be having fun.
I think it's doing a lot of damage to our children.
While it's clear that this topic is a really big issue in youth sports, I'd also like to mention that it goes far beyond it. This right here is my dad. He played Division I basketball, but he describes that when he won the state championship, the first and most overwhelming emotion was not joy or excitement, it was relief, as the pressure to win was released from him. Similarly, my dad's family and my grandpa often described that the entire mood of their household was dependent on whether or not he won games. This shows that the pressure not only came from his teammates or coaches or even fans, but it occurred at his actual house too. Another thing that me and my dad often talk about is how we're disappointed in the evolution of sports. He talks about that when he was a kid, he would wear a white t-shirt with electrical tape for numbers, he would share bats with his team, they would get in a van and all drive to the game together, there would be little to no fans at his games. But now, jerseys and equipment can cost thousands of dollars. There can be tens, if not hundreds, of fans at these games, and they can often be covered on social media or live streamed. We're really disappointed that youth sports have gone from an emphasis on having fun to an emphasis on companies making money and kids winning at all costs. Now, I've already talked about a lot of these factors, but some of the factors that increase the risk for kids are media, parents and coaches, costs, and the overall culture of youth sports. Now, after this, I've developed this interest in mental health. Some of the goals I've developed are to, 1, spread awareness and reduce stigma of mental health, especially in youth boys, where there's this overarching theme of boys trying to be tough and conceal their emotions. 2, I want to protect kids from developing mental health risks in sports or developing mental health issues stemming from youth sports. 3, I want to aid parents and coaches in creating a healthier and more fun environment for the kids to genuinely enjoy the sports. Some of the groundwork that led me to my mental health and sports passion was my work with the organization called Strike Out the Stigma, which is they really focus on high school baseball and suicide prevention in that realm. But after my work with them, I still felt that we should really address this issue in youth sports, where the problem often stems from. I also had work with an organization called the Green Bandana, which focuses on suicide prevention. And one thing that was really impactful to me is as I walked into my first meeting, I came into a full presentation room of over 100 students, but I was the only boy. And this fueled me to continue to try and reduce the stigma in mental health for boys, as I realized that it was still a taboo topic in my area. Finally, I did a lot of personal research at the time, as I was genuinely interested in the topic, and this consisted of reading papers and watching videos on mental health. As for Hoover, he was also very, very invested in children's health, specifically after the Great Depression. Children were really suffering, they were being abandoned, they were starving, etc. And he hosted the White House Conference on Child Health and Protection, which he raised over $500,000 for. He also held follow-up conferences in 32 states and 200 counties after this original conference. And like him, I hope that even if I can impact one kid with my work on mental health, I think my project will be well worth it. As for Lou Henry Hoover, when I was walking through the museum in June, I came across this picture on the right, and I saw that she was publicly opposed to the awarding of expensive trophies like this one for my 8U season. And she can be quoted saying that motivation of competitors should be to maintain the amateur spirit of play for play's sake, which to me means that we should play to have fun, not to win or find this success. I also had an internship which helped catalyze my project's creation. Specifically, I worked with a company called Tad Health, which they give resources to businesses and schools for mental health. And I was mentored under the CEO and founder, Ben Greiner, and me and him helped make the most efficient possible plan we could create so I could have the biggest impact on mental health in my community. As for what I developed, I researched the most significant causes to mental health creation in youth, and I developed solutions to try and reduce these causes, and I then compiled the most important tips I could make for creating a healthy youth sports environment. And then I developed my logo, as seen here on the right, and my brand, Empowering Youth Athletes Through Mental Health, and I made video presentations. As for my accomplishments, like I said, I was able to compile a significant amount of research. I made my logo and fabricated my presentations. And then I worked with my athletic director, Andrew Davis, to spread my presentation to already 4 youth sports organizations in my area, and I'm continuing to continue spread to spread that to even more organizations. And I overall received very enthusiastic feedback from the parents who thanked me extensively for standing up to the unnecessary pressures that coaches, parents, and clubs can inflict on our kids. As for my future plans and my goals to meet, I hope to continue spreading awareness of mental health through my presentations by continuing to spread it to more youth sports organizations. I hope to explore new methods to impact youth sports. That could be making a podcast, writing a paper, etc. And finally, I hope to one day attend medical school and pursue a career in health in which I can help people in a whole new way. Thank you for your time. My name is Hudson Kimm. This is my project on empowering youth athletes through mental health. And I'd like to thank the Hoover Foundation for this opportunity, as I'll be ever grateful. Thank you.
So I have a question, thank you. You know, as part of, now that you've been through sports and parents and everything, what would your recommendation be to other parents when they see parents misbehaving or however? What should happen at that moment?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting topic because a lot of times, you know, parents don't want parenting advice from other parents, which, you know, I think that overall we should try to have our coaches maybe tell the parents because they're, you know, leading their team. I think they should maybe try and point out at the start of the season that parents shouldn't ever blame kids for a loss or for doing something wrong. Instead, we should try and be constructive with our criticism.
I have a question. As somebody who reffed hockey, youth hockey for 15 years, I saw a lot of this, and I was on the receiving end of a lot of this, so I appreciate what you're doing. How do you push the word out? How do you get out to these students, families, etc.?
Yeah, for sure. So what I've developed so far is originally I made some prototypes of a video presentation, but then I made a finalized video presentation that has my tips for creating a healthier environment for our youth. And then I worked with my athletic director, like I said, to share this to youth organizations, and they emailed it out to all of their parents and coaches. So I'm hoping that a lot of them watch the videos. But yeah, and I think I could continue to do this by presenting in person as well, because I think that could maybe have a even larger impact.
Thank you for that presentation. So I know exactly what you're talking about. When I was growing up, like, we could do everything. We could just practice one day a week and go to the game the next day of the week. And since I've raised kids, it's every day a week. And you can't even get into high school if you haven't been playing for like 10 years nonstop. And so in my neighborhood, we had a two-sport athlete, and they had to pick which sport they were going to play a particular week, and that let the other team down, and it just divided the whole neighborhood. Why did you pick that sport over this sport? And so I think what you're doing is really good. So do you have any advice, like, once this goes awry, like after the fact, is there a way that you have suggestions like how to repair the situation?
Yeah, so a lot of the things that I talk about is trying to create a positive environment. So some of the tips that I give to coaches are to frame feedback in a positive way. So let's just say that you're coaching a baseball game, right? Or you're a parent at a baseball game, and a kid's going to field a ground ball and it goes right through their legs. You know, you might have some coaches that are like, oh, like, how'd you miss that? You shouldn't be making that error. But what I would tell a coach to do is tell the kid that it's all right that they made the mistake, and kind of tell them what they can do better, but don't just blame them for it. As for the time commitment thing, I've seen that a lot. I mean, youth sports are crazy now. You can be having 10-hour-a-week commitments. I would recommend that the actual school districts try and keep the seasons from overlapping, because I think that what you talked about with your neighborhood, dividing it, I've had similar situations with, you know, basketball, fall baseball, stuff like that. So I think, yeah, if you could keep the seasons in their own section, that could be pretty impactful.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.